I wonder if you ever heard about Rollerdrome, because if you don't, it's basically what you can call a definitive modern hidden gem. Imagine if Tony Hawk would meet a Doom guy, and after a long night of love, they would give this world the most beautiful child. Well, you don't have to push yourself too hard to imagine something like that, because Rollerdrome is what you can call a result of such mix. Stylish, highly skill-based action which combines roller tricks with Doom's chess combat. This is super fun game which is available on all modern platforms and is pretty cheap during regular store sales. But despite that, at least one of its creators doesn't want you to buy it, and moreover, encourage gamers to pirate the game. In this video, I will try to tell you why and how does it happen. But first, let me more precisely describe what this game is. Why, despite being the combination of already existing ideas, it still manages to be so unique. Why I fully completed the game twice, and why I honestly loved it, so you could feel more closely and personally the second, pretty painful part of this video, which is about money, shitty state of video game industry, and how great game developers have to face the challenge of working there. Without further ado, welcome to Rollerdrome. From the beginning, you find yourself in a death pool with a bunch of enemies aiming to eliminate you. Arenas in-game are built in the way that there are no escape after them. It's kill or be killed. It is where Rollerdrome presents the main game loop, which connects rolling gameplay with its shooter mechanics. You shoot your enemies until you're out of ammo, and when you need more ammo, you perform tricks to generate it. After that, repeat the whole cycle as many times as it takes to witness the victory screen. And I love how Rollerdrome manages to follow the less is more route throughout the whole game, starting from the most obvious, its visual style, which was inspired by works of John Giraud, also known as Mobius. It's not highly detailed or realistic, but it doesn't have to be like that. In that way, not only the game looks awfully stylish and colorful, but also allows players to more easily navigate on battlefield, quickly confirming where each enemy is located by their bold lighting. This visual style is not overused by modern developers, so it still feels pretty fresh and unique to spend hours of pure gameplay in living Mobius painting, where you being honored to hold the brush. Going further on that topic, it's quite tough to do two things at once. Have you ever tried drawing circle and square in front of you at the same time? Our brain simply isn't capable of consciously doing something like that in parallel. The same goes for trying to shoot and roller skate at the same time. Developers at Roll7 were also knowledge of that, so Rollerdrome isn't overcomplicating its core mechanics. While skating in the arena, you cannot physically bail from your roller skates, nor can you perform manuals, reverts, or other advanced moves. The same goes for shooting. You cannot upgrade your weapons, and the ammo is shared across all guns. The only way to get more bullets is by performing tricks. Rollerdrome ties rolling with shooting together and constantly pushing you to shift between those two sequences over and over again, without any discomfort nor disrupting the game's flow. None of the gameplay parts is overcomplicated, thanks to what both rolling and shooting are existing in balance. As the result, it feels as great doing crazy stunts, as well as killing all the bad guys you can reach with your guns. Or you can simply enjoy both, while listening to game soundtrack created by Electric Dragon. Beside the obvious game progression, with 10 specific challenges per each stage, Rollerdrome highly emphasizes the meta progression of a player, the knowledge you gain in the empiric way by playing the game. And the main challenges you complete on your way to the finals help you learn and discover many useful tips, which will definitely be handy if you desire to become the Rollerdrome champion. For example, you will know how to kill these annoying little teleporting laser shitheads with one shot. You'll master the super reflex state, which normally activates only after perfectly dodging an enemy's attack, but you will learn how to trigger it without any opponents inside at all. And many other useful exploits, which are totally legit and were made for you to discover naturally by playing the game. It's just you and the game. But why do I need to get into all of that if I can just quickly beat only the necessary challenges and finish the whole game for 5 hours or so, put the game on the shelf and make a horrible mistake, which is according to How Long to Beat reviews and Steam achievement stats made quite a few of you. You see, in Rollerdrome only the player decides when the game is completed. You may finish the game as I described before, see your cup, and be a total dumbass, because there's still so much for you to see in there. Why don't you complete all the challenges, so you will gain knowledge of smallest game nuances? After that, why not aim for S rank on each stage? This will require numerous attempts per level, as achieving the best result demands completing the level without breaking the combo chain. It can and will be incredibly challenging, as well as frustrating, but hey, who said it would be a walk in the park? By the way, Rollerdrome is super well optimized for Steam Deck. These bright visuals in 90 FPS look simply delicious on OLED screen, while its back buttons allow you to map different weapons on them, so you can quickly swap your guns without losing control over Kara. Kara is the game's protagonist. You'll know more about her if you explore the narrative sequences before start of each chapter. They are easily skippable, and I know the temptation to leave these stuffy rooms and rush toward the exit for a fresh dose of gameplay is intense, but I highly recommend you to stay here a bit longer and explore these levels. The things you'll notice there won't change your life, but through subtle strokes of visual storytelling, game depicts a dystopian world and provide the context as well as some answers for the player. What kind of sport is this, where defeat means death? Why this in-game move called the Fray? What does winning this tournament means for Kara, and how your skill as a player reflects on this story? You see, the main reason I loved Rollerdrome is that the game knows exactly when to admit that you become truly skilled at playing it. The final score you achieve is the game's way of acknowledging your skill level as a player. For example, in Tony Hawk games, there is no reward for achieving sky-high scores by the end of the run. As long as you've completed at least half of the level goals, you're good to go. You can proceed to the next skate park. Making crazy combos in-game is kind of entertain yourself kick. You may brag to friends about it, post your highlight on YouTube, but the game itself doesn't really care to reward you for being a good player. Rollerdrome takes the opposite approach. The game's main focus is challenging players to achieve their best performance. After all, it's a sports game. A death sports game, to be precise. Just like in slasher games, by the end of the level, Rollerdrome ranks the player taking into account three basic things: amount and variety of performed tricks, the size of combo chain by the end of the run, and how much time it took to finish the level. And here goes the Out for Blood campaign, Rollerdrome's New Game Plus mode. Here you have to complete the game again, but from the first level you will notice the neat part of Out for Blood, the difficulty level, which will be deadly for those who haven't learned to play the game until that moment. There are more enemies on each stage, they are much stronger, and sometimes can even one-shot careless Kara. There are only 3 challenges per each stage, and once again they are based on 3 things: your skill, your accuracy, and your speed. So there is nothing more than a game, a player, and your result. Over and over you must push yourself to reach the next stage until you win the Out for Blood championship. And this is where I personally conclude the game. This is my true ending of Rollerdrome. To sum up all of that, I honestly love that at some point, game speaks for itself and kinda hints the player that you're truly beginning to understand Rollerdrome only after finishing its base campaign, because only after completing the first championship and starting Out for Blood campaign, you are finally receiving achievement called Welcome to Rollerdrome. The Rollerdrome, as any other game, isn't appeared out of nowhere. Prior to its release, it took years of development and play testing, but at first it looked like that. It was a small prototype created by 2 guys for GMTK Game Jam. Rollerdrome looked nothing like Rollerdrome, but still, they both share the same skeleton. Here, you're also rolling on the arena, eliminating guys who are trying to kill you, and performing tricks to generate ammo. After good initial feedback, Paul Rabbit, author of the original idea, continued to work on his prototype and shared progress he made online. Guys at Roll7, who were known for all his series, saw videos of his demos and offered Paul to work on the game together. So soon, this became that. Developers were adding and cutting different game elements, they were making small and big steps towards gameplay balance, until they reached the perfect result. So in the end, Rollerdrome released in 2022. Gamers and game journalists loved it, so it often appeared in numerous Game of the Year lists on top positions. Even Naughty Dog acknowledged them back in the days. And as the biggest award, Rollerdrome won BAFTA for Best British Game of the Year. So yeah, sometimes results of hard work and game development looks like this, but also like that. Let me briefly explain to you how Take-Two publishing structure looks like. You'll soon understand why I need to know that. Take-Two is an American video game company founded in the early 90s. By 1996, they were lucky to acquire a small British studio called DMA Design, which the year before released a relatively unknown title called Grand Theft Auto. A bit later, those guys renamed themselves, and now we all know them as Rockstar Games. It was a purchase of a lifetime. For 14 million bucks, they invested in the right title and the right guys, who created the most successful video game franchise in the world, which generated for them literally millions and billions of dollars. After that, Take-Two created another label called 2K Games. Under this name, they published no less popular series like Borderlands, Sid Meier's Civilization, Mafia, XCOM, Bioshock, and also NBA 2K with WWE 2K. Now you know what else 2K there stands for. And finally, in 2017, Take-Two created third publishing label called Private Division. This publisher had to work with independent studios, helping them create and publish indie or AA size titles. The idea is simple. If you invest right amount of cash into production and promotion of not the most expensive game in the world, you can earn very good money on it if the game becomes the hit. So Private Division, well, Take-Two, invested their money into numerous titles: The Outer Worlds, Kerbal Space Program, Ancestors, The Humankind Odyssey, Disintegration, as well as other smaller and bigger titles. And by the way, they made contact with Roll7, creators of Rollerdrome and Ollie series. Their team was perfectly fitting for the model of the publisher, so by the end of 2021, they not just made publishing deal with British studio, but even more, acquired them, what made studio a part of this whole hierarchy. So now you see that I was explaining the scheme for you not just for nothing. In 2022, Roll7 released two crazy bangers, Ollie World and Rollerdrome. And you know what unites them, as well as almost all previous named titles? They all flopped, financially. If we speak about Rollerdrome, the game hit milestone of 1 million players a couple of months ago, but we can't tell for sure how many gamers actually bought the game, because since the initial release, Rollerdrome managed to get free trial version for PlayStation, appear as a part of PS Plus lineup, as well as Game Pass library at the same time. The same goes for the game's budget, which is also unknown. So in the end, we can only assume that after all subscription deals with Sony and Microsoft, Rollerdrome could at least recoup production costs for the publisher. But nevertheless, after all these mind games and what ifs, let's be honest, game doesn't become the hit. If you look on Rollerdrome from the perspective of such giant machine as Take-Two, it just flopped. Through Take-Two eyes, games like Ollie World or Rollerdrome are not even close to be considered as a hit, comparing financial results of these games to GTA, Mafia or NBA 2K. Considering that and all previous failure of indie publisher, for the big guys in suits, the whole Private Division thing started to be considered as a waste of time and money. So Take-Two decided to close down Private Division with its two studios, Intercept Games, developers of Kerbal Space Program 2, and Roll7, creators of Rollerdrome and Ollie series. And to think of that, Take-Two became the video game giant we know today thanks to acquiring one small British studio years before, and decades later, they once again done the same thing with buying British Roll7, but instead of giving them a chance, they shut it down guys who could make many and many more great video games in the future. It just sucks. But how they closed down this studio actually sucks even more, because Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick still refused to acknowledge that they closed down Roll7, saying that entire organization contributed to cost reduction efforts, but we didn't shutter those studios. To be clear. Meanwhile, Roll7 official website currently looks like this. It sounds ridiculously, but it's true. And moreover, a decade ago, the same guy did the same thing with 2K Marine, creators of Bioshock 2, who were also closed down, with no one at Take-Two actually acknowledging the fact that it's not existing anymore. Jason Schreier even wrote a whole chapter about these events in his book. I assume that all 5 developers signed some kind of NDA, so all the information we have is gained thanks to Anissa Sanusi, who worked as senior UI artist for the game. She left the Roll7 2 years ago, right after finishing her work on the Rollerdrome, so Anissa hasn't signed any agreements and could comment the whole situation as it is. She wrote the "Please Pirate It" tweet, and after that explained her thoughts in a small thread. 2 years since my departure, the studio I loved working at no longer exists, and my friends and former colleagues were laid off. So why would I want the suits who made the decision to continue to benefit when no one from the team is still there? I don't care about the money. I care about the people behind the games. Without them, we wouldn't have art. And Rollerdrome was a piece of art we will always be proud of, and we definitely want people to continue enjoying it, however you choose to. Video games as a medium were also between state of art and craft. But what distinguishes truly good video game from being analog of digital pottery is that each game we love is unique in its own way and was created by passionate teams who put their hearts into creating video games. People who create games are human beings as we are. They also have feelings and they also feel hurt when something like this happens. When place they could call home for more than a decade being suddenly closed down due to a mistake of some high-class management who doesn't even play in video games they have to work with. What I'm trying to say is that this isn't a discussion about game piracy, it's about people and things they care for. Some care about their team and video games they create, while others create about money above all else. After all this horrible treatment towards game creators, I'm not surprised at all that those tweets became reality. What's really shocking about all this is that it seems like no one at Roll7 saw it coming. It happened completely out of blue. According to one of the last interview by Eurogamer with Roll7 co-founder John Ribbins, studio was happy to be a part of Take-Two, because it seemed like a shelter during game industry layoff purge. Guys at studio were literally preparing to announce all new game this year, and they also had some ideas for Rollerdrome 2. They thought there was no way a giant like that could fall, but in the end, the giant simply crushed them and moved on without the studio. After you complete the Rollerdrome, you'll see this screen. The game was made by 44 people at Roll7. Roll7 was closed for making damn good video games, and all those people were fired because they did nothing wrong. Okay, so here's a quick update. During production of this video, Take-Two confirmed that they didn't shut down their private division label, but sold it to an unknown buyer. Most of the label stuff was laid off this spring, so the new owner of the private division will acquire only its IPs, but nothing more else. Still no official confirmation of shutting down Roll7 or Intercept Games, however, we already know what actually happened, unfortunately. I still hope you liked the video, so please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments below if you played Rollerdrome before, did you like it or not, and what do you think about the situation overall. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you soon.